approached the town of, I believe it was Bryson. But we did have preemptive and proactive work along that side just because we expected that kind of shift in that weather. Locals and state firefighters were able to retain and contain that fire on that edge. Like I said, we had pre-positioned lines and resources there, so we were able to contain it on that end. We do have some heavy fire activity on that Possum Kingdom Highway 16 corridor. We are focusing a lot of our efforts on that side, as well as continuing on the head of the fire on that northeastern side. In addition to the southern edge, closest towards Palo Pinto City, we have those resources already on scene, working to mitigate our fire on that end. I will now open it up to questions.
Can you tell us about how many structures have been lost?
So we don't have an official count of structures lost, but we are aware of reports of that. We do have a team assessing damage. They came in yesterday. They've been working diligently to assess the threats to these structures in that fire.
And so as far as the number of actual homes as opposed to outbuildings, are you ready to, can you say anything definitive about that?
It's a very, very rural area of this county, so it's very difficult to determine what's a home and what's a general structure.
Hi, Hector. I'm going to just address a couple of things in the local community since I represent Palo Pinto County here. I want everyone to know that, as you know, last night about 2 a.m. the winds began to shift and the fire is coming back towards us this way. And so this morning when most of us woke up, there was a lot of heavy smoke filling the air. So many people have been concerned about that, and we just want everyone to know that as the day goes on, you're probably going to see smoke, but in the Mineral Wells community, you are not to be alerted at this moment. If there is a shift that you should be concerned about, we will be pushing that out through social media. We will also be pushing it through our county notification system and our city notification system. You're going to see fewer of our resources, our firefighters and paramedics today because we are giving them a rest. Fortunately, we've had enough firefighters from other communities have come in, so we are taking a little bit of a break today to give our firefighters some rest. They have been working extremely hard and they need some rest. So you won't see as many out there today, but they are resting and they will be back at it as soon as they can. As far as air quality, if you are someone who has respiratory issues or illnesses regarding that, you might consider staying in today if it's bothering you. Also, let's address resources. We have been inundated with water donations and snacks, and it has been phenomenal, and we are so grateful for that. Unfortunately, we need to put a pause on that at the moment because we have so much that we just can't take it anymore. So please hold off on any supply donations that you are considering, and there is a link on the Palo Pinto County Emergency Service District page that you can donate financially to, and that is the best way that you could help this community right now because we are inundated with supplies and we really could use your help financially repairing equipment because out there in this rough terrain, it's very difficult on those vehicles. Any other questions that you guys might have?
In terms of numbers, the last numbers we had were that about 350 people had been evacuated and you had about 170 personnel that were working this fire. Any updates on that?
To our knowledge, all of the evacuations have been lifted. Is that correct, Hector?
We don't have any updates on terms of evacuation numbers and resources available. Like I said, we are still working on those focal points. That's our primary priority right now. So once we get those numbers later on throughout the day, I will update you guys and send it to you.
And in terms of what you're actually doing, can you kind of describe that work, that preemptive work? Because people think, okay, preemptive work, like what does that actually mean?
Yes, so Texas A&M Forest Service works in unified command with locals. We also had TIFMAS strike teams. TIFMAS is the Interstate Mutual Fire Assistance Program. What that does is we have anybody within a fire department that has wildland fire calls gets on a deployment with Texas A&M Forest Service. They are strategically placed throughout the state in conjunction, obviously, with us, Texas A&M Forest Service. And whenever this call for a fire does occur, we send out unified command, obviously, with resources, locals, and we have a combination of aviation, heavy equipment, and wildland fire engines Sometimes we do have EMT strike packages in the event of emergency medical assistance is required. As far as preemptive and proactive work, like we said, we expected wind shifts and significant growth along field topography, weather. So we do have, like I said, heavy equipment such as dozers, tying in with aviation, dropping retardant lines. We are building line ahead of the fire. Like we said, when we expect these shifts, we put dozer line ahead. You can't burn dirt, so the dozers push up that vegetation, and then our wildland fire engines mitigate any kind of hot spots, any kind of heat signatures, and we have drones in the air as well. Another thing I want to talk about is drones. We are still on a no-fly zone. This is strictly only for wildland fire personnel and aviation. If you are flying drones, that interferes with every single one of our operations. Our aviation cannot fly, our drones cannot fly. This can cause accidents if you do not have clearance to fly. We have been having issues over the last few days. It is consistent, and it is seriously affecting our ability to mitigate this fire.
What do we want to remind people about the conditions and any part they could play in making sure that fires don't pop up or spread? I don't know if there's obviously burn bans in place or outdoor burning, but kind of what warnings do we want to give the public?
Right, so your county is always going to be is going to be responsible for putting out that burn ban. So always maintain, always maintain vigilance on your county's page regarding burn bans. Most of the time, it's the first pop-up that shows up when you go to their page. Again, anything that can cause a spark. It's not always grilling and welding. Sometimes it's just parking in tall grass. Being vigilant for lightning strikes. For those of you that are around the area, you will see that it is slightly drizzling. So we want to make sure that we're staying vigilant for these lightning strikes and reporting it if it does come in. Again, mitigating every single possible effort that could cause sparks and flames in this area.
Are there any preliminary numbers that you could tell us about the effect on wildlife and farm life?
That's going to go down to the AgriLife Extension Office. They'll be able to help with the animals and livestock and wildlife as well.
And I know you mentioned this already, but could you repeat where you're doing some of that preemptive work? I know you said, I think it was the northeastern edge and the southern edge?
We had preemptive work on that northeastern edge, as well as at the head of the fire on the northwest edge as well. We're working on those focal points. We are focusing efforts as well on the Possum Kingdom Highway 16 corridor, and we are reiterating again some of that work down on the southern heel of the fire, closest towards the city of Palo Pinto.
Are you worried at all about the wind shifting? Does that cause any concern for whether it be your work, the safety of the crews out there, anything like that?
So we are always keeping an eye on the weather. We have hourly updates as to what's going on. We do tend to work, obviously, with forecasts. So again, like we said, we predicted the wind shift last night, and we were prepared for it. Obviously, the fire grew, but we had those preemptive lines in place. So, like I said, we did have that work ahead of schedule. We always try to stay ahead of the fire as best as we can.
I'd just like to encourage everyone in the Palo Pinto County area to be sure you're following the Palo Pinto County Emergency Service District No. 1's Facebook page. We will be putting out any information that is critical that the community needs to know there, and we will also be pushing out anything through our emergency notification system as well. So please make sure you're following those pages.
How many fire departments would you say in this fire?
Like I said, we don't have the specific numbers, but we do have a total of about 170 personnel, and it could possibly grow. This is the combination with aviation, local volunteer fire departments, again, that TIF and strike team, Texas A&M Forest Service, as well as federal resources.
I think that's it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, we just heard from Texas Forest Service with an update saying, of course, that they will be giving firefighters just a break for today as a number of crews have been battling this blaze around the clock. They also stated that they've received an overwhelming number of donations that they've received from the public so far. And they're also asking at this time for the community to hold on those donations for now. But monetary donations are being accepted at Palo Pinto County website. Meanwhile, Lauren, we know that firefighters will continue their efforts to contain this massive fire that we know is burning west of the Metroplex here. Fire danger is still such a big concern for us this morning. Tell us what we're dealing with.
Okay, well, Carmen, conditions are actually improving whenever we look at the fire danger today here across North Texas, which is definitely some great news, especially for those folks being impacted. Hopefully that helps lead to better containment as we move into the rest of the day today. Now, I am tracking a frontal system, so a bit of a wind shift is going to be anticipated. This is a view outside of Jacksboro yesterday. Very smoky skies. This is from our field correspondent, and this was Jason McLaughlin. He had this picture of yesterday in Jacksboro, but Jacksboro, it's anticipated that you'll get a little bit of relief as we move through the day today because of this wind shift. The only bad news is some other folks to the south and to the east of this fire are going to be impacted due to the smoky conditions as we head into the afternoon and evening hours today, as I track a frontal system that's pushing across the region. Today will remain mostly dry and hot. Temperatures for the high will be around 100 degrees for a good chunk of North Texas. We are checking for a potential of a shower or storm for some of us, but again, most of us stay dry. Humidity levels behind this frontal system aren't too bad. In fact, we're going to see an increase in moisture content here across the region due to this frontal system that'll be swinging through. So there is good news in the forecast. Humidity levels will be around 30 to 40% as we push into the afternoon. Now, the morning front will cause a bit of a wind shift. We're now looking at winds from the north or northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. This will lead to the trajectory of the smoke and the fire to move to the southeast towards 281. It's no longer moving to the northeast towards Jack County. As of right now, again, you just heard 80,000 acres have been burned and it's 12% contained at this current moment. I'm tracking a frontal system that's swinging through, and I'll dive into the details on the trajectory and what to expect coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, Lauren, thank you for tracking that all morning long for us. We certainly appreciate it. This morning, the Ross Fire has swollen to over 80,000 acres in Palo Pinto and Jack counties, and evacuations are underway right now as firefighters work to contain those flames in the blaze. And the community is now stepping up in a big way. So Trevor Sohaki is joining us live this morning in Jack County. And Trevor, people are really rallying together just to save the livestock there within that community.
Yes, they really are, Carmen. It's been great to see. In fact, as I was just driving here, we're at the Palo Pinto courthouse behind me, the county courthouse behind me. I was driving here, and maybe about half an hour, 45 minutes ago, as I was driving along the road, I saw a whole bunch of cowboys on horseback that were driving some cattle along the road, trying to get those cattle to safety. It's very rural out here, a lot of farmland, a lot of ranch land. So obviously that's going to burn really fast, and it has burned. As you drive throughout this area along Jack and Palo Pinto counties, you can really see a lot of what has burned out throughout the last 48 to 72 hours or so. A lot of just blackened land and ash and soot and trees that have just been absolutely stripped down of any color whatsoever. But we just finished up that press conference that you just saw here at the Palo Pinto courthouse. I think the big takeaway, and this is the highlight number that we've been telling you all morning long, 80,000 acres, still 12% contained. And we do know that the winds have shifted now, and that has impacted how they are trying to preemptively fight this fire. Previously, they were focused on the Bryson area, and that's kind of where we were earlier this morning. That Bryson area was under a shelter-in-place order, and they were getting ready for that emergency evacuation. That never ended up happening. Jack County, maybe a couple hours ago, rescinded all of those evacuation orders, much to the relief, I'm sure, the people in Bryson. And that's due to a lot of the work that happened thanks to the Texas A&M Forest Service. They were setting up those dozer lines of dirt. They were dropping flame retardant from ahead, and they were trying to preemptively get ahead of that fire, especially on the northeastern and northwestern sides of the fire, because a lot of that wind had been pushing up north. Now the winds have shifted, but Texas A&M Forest Service just told us in the press conference they were prepared for that. They knew that those winds were going to shift. They are now prepping more of that southern area. They didn't say Mineral Wells was at threat yet, but of course, those people should always stay alert. But they did say that they're kind of watching out for that southern edge, that southeastern and southwestern edge of the fire, back here near the Palo Pinto area, instead of up near Jack, near that Bryson, Jacksboro, Grayford area as well. They're kind of watching it, and they're continuing that preemptive work. Like I said, a lot of this, like we talked about, is that farmland. It's that rural land. And so it does make it a little bit easier for them to dig those trenches and just put up up mounds of dirt that fire can't go through. Because earlier this morning, when we got here around maybe 4 o'clock or so, we saw with our own eyes a lot of those flames just spreading across all of that farmland. And thankfully, obviously, there's no buildings in that farmland, there's no people in that farmland, and the damage to buildings has been very minimal with this fire so far. But of course, those trees, they burn really quickly and they burn fast, and that fire can move very, very quickly out in this rural area. And so that has meant that they are working together, because a lot of these ranches are far apart. They're working together to get their animals, whether it be the horses, whether it be the cattle, out of their ranches, out of their land, and trying to get them to a safe place. And that's been honestly a lot of the work of the Texas community that we always see come together for these kinds of disasters, whether it be a fire, whether it be floods. We see it every time, Carmen.
Trevor, certainly kudos to crews for just working tirelessly day and night for the last several hours just to try to put this blaze out and get the fire somewhat contained. We do know containment's now at 12%, but 80,000 acres charred in this wildfire's path is just quite staggering. Thank you so much for the latest information there live outside of Palo Pinto County Courthouse. We appreciate it. Assignment editor Danica Hill is also tracking this from the desk for us this morning in our newsroom. So, Danica, there are several closures because of the Ross fire. What can you tell us about those closures within this area?
Yeah, that's right. So we do know this morning that several schools decided to close, also because they were asked to by emergency management crews out there. Also, several starting with delays today, and they actually have not got underway just yet. But I wanted to talk you through some of the school districts that we did see decide to go ahead and delay. Bryson ISD, you heard Trevor mentioning that area in Bryson where they were dealing with what was potentially going to be an evacuation, but did not. But we do know that Bryson ISD in Jack County announced that they are closing today. Perwin-Witt CISD did decide to have a delayed start today, and they are set to start at 10 a.m. So here in just about 40 minutes. Also, Grafford ISD will not have classes today. They also canceled their classes yesterday, and we know that that fire was burning just to the west of that small little city over there. Jacksboro ISD posted on their Facebook page, on their high school page, that operations will follow their regular schedule today and that all bus routes are clear. So those students should be back in school starting today. We also know that there has been a ton of local efforts here from the Metroplex out there to try and assist in this fire. We've seen people and fire crews from Fort Worth, Keller, North Richland Hills, and Mesquite have all sent teams west. Our camera crews caught volunteers delivering pallets of water to firefighters and helping others just hand out water and whatever they may need out there. As you did hear them mention during this press conference, though, they do say that they are stocked up on those types of deliveries and donations. What they are asking for now is monetary donations, because that is the most impactful in this situation. We've also heard Trevor mention how this is a very rural area, which means there is a lot of farmland out there. We know people have been banding together to get those animals to safety. I also just saw on the Parker County Sheriff's page that they're also offering up some shelter if you have animals that way, that you can go ahead and take them that way as well. So a lot of Texans helping Texans during this as this continues to be ablaze, as crews are trying to knock it down. But of course, we are going to stay on top of the latest closures and whatever details you may need to know here from the desk. But that's what we're looking at right now, Carmen.
Okay, Danica, thank you so much. You and Trevor mentioned that this is a very rural area. We know that cattle and livestock, of course, are at a huge risk here, but also those domestic animals as well. So as that fire is still burning, animal welfare organizations are coming together to rescue pets within this area. The SPCA of Texas, based out of Dallas, actually took in 11 dogs from mineral wells. Here's a look at some of those photos of that team effort. The organization is asking that you keep the people and the animals of mineral wells in your thoughts and also in your prayers. Now let's get a final check of weather and those fire conditions right now with Lauren Boswick. You've been tracking this very closely for us all morning long, Lauren.
I really have been. And Carmen, I'm tracking a frontal system that's swinging through, and that's causing a bit of a shift whenever it comes to the winds. And so what that's also leading to is the trajectory of the smoke and the wildfire to now move to the southeast towards Highway 281, towards Millsap, as well as over into Mineral Wells. Those spots in particular are going to see more heavy smoke in their vicinity as we push through the rest of the day today. So heads up there. We're going to be looking at impacts, especially whenever it comes to the soot in the atmosphere. If you have any sensitivities, heart or respiratory related illnesses, it's going to be advised for you folks to just limit any outdoor exposure. And if you are having to get outside, make sure you're wearing a mask, just for those folks who are sensitive. At the current moment, again, we're looking at 80,000 acres that have been burned associated with the Ross fire. And we're actually tracking a frontal system that's swinging through. It's causing a wind shift, but what it's also doing, you can see the plumes of smoke in the atmosphere there. It's bringing some light rainfall over the vicinity, which is definitely good news. No lightning strikes associated with this, even though some of this rainfall may not even be making it to the ground. Again, we'll continue to watch this frontal system swing down to the south and to the east as we move throughout the day today. Again, it's going to be all of the smoke that's headed to the south and to the east. That's what we're keeping a very close eye on in the next 24 hours. Carmen.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate the update there. Well, we will continue our coverage of the Ross fire all morning, so stay with us either on air or follow our updates online at cbsnewstexas.com.